Imagine a people so feared that their very name became synonymous with barbarism. A confederation of warrior cities, armed with iron weapons, fortified strongholds, and a will to dominate the crossroads of the ancient world. They clashed with Israel's greatest kings, terrified their neighbors, and built a culture that fused the Aegean with the Near East. Yet, within a few centuries, they vanished completely absorbed by the empires that rose around them. This is the story of the Philistines, their mysterious origins, their powerful confederation, their wars, their gods, and ultimately, their disappearance into the sands of history. The Philistines, so often remembered only as the biblical enemies of Israel, were in fact a people with a far more complex and fascinating history. To truly understand who they were, we must look not only at the Hebrew scriptures, but also at archaeology, ancient inscriptions, and the work of modern historians. Their story begins in the upheaval of the Late Bronze Age, when civilizations across the eastern Mediterranean crumbled, and ends with their absorption into the great empires of the Iron Age. Their rise was sudden, their power formidable, and their disappearance gradual yet permanent. Still, their name, Philistines, would echo throughout history, lending its shadow even to the word Palestine that we know today. The origins of the Philistines remain one of the great puzzles of ancient history. Egyptian inscriptions from the reign of Ramesses III describe invasions of sea peoples, seafaring groups who swept across the Mediterranean around the 12th century BC. At Medinet Habu, Ramesses recorded his battles with these invaders, depicting them with feathered headdresses, round shields, and ox-drawn carts. Scholars have long identified the Philistines among these sea peoples. Pottery discovered in Philistine settlements such as Ashdod, Ashkelon, and Ekron bears striking similarity to Mycenaean Greek ceramics. DNA evidence from burials at Ashkelon, published in Science Advances in 2019, further confirms a European genetic input into the Philistine population. As archaeologist Daniel Master explains, for the first time, we can see that these migrants left a clear genetic mark on the population, confirming what the archaeology had long suggested. Thus, the Philistines likely originated from the Aegean or wider Mediterranean world. Displaced by the collapse of Bronze Age kingdoms and resettling on the southern coast of Canaan. Once established, they formed a unique political structure, the Pentapolis, or League of Five Cities. Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Gath, and Ekron became the backbone of Philistine power. Each city was ruled by a leader known as a Siren, a term found in the Bible and translated as lord or prince. Unlike the centralized monarchies of Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Philistine system was a confederation. Each city retained independence, but cooperated in matters of war and defense. Historian Amihai Mazar notes, the Philistine Pentapolis was not a single state under a king, but a coalition of city-states bound together by common origin and interests. This decentralized structure allowed them resilience. No single ruler dominated, but together they wielded significant military and political power. The Philistines quickly gained a reputation as formidable warriors. Biblical texts emphasize their martial strength, portraying them as Israel's most dangerous foes. In 1 Samuel, the Israelites are described as relying on Philistine smiths to sharpen their tools because no blacksmith could be found in Israel, a vivid reminder of their technological superiority. Archaeological excavations confirm this. Philistine sites reveal advanced knowledge of metallurgy, particularly in ironworking. Trude Dothan, one of the foremost scholars of Philistine archaeology, argued that the Philistines were among the first in the Levant to exploit iron technology, giving them a crucial military advantage. Their armies, equipped with chariots, heavy infantry, and well-crafted weapons, terrified their neighbors. The biblical story of David and Goliath, while steeped in legend, reflects a real perception. The Philistines were giants of war, seemingly invincible. Yet their society was more than just military might. Their coastal position made them key players in Mediterranean trade. Ashkelon, in particular, grew into a thriving port city connected to Egypt, Cyprus, and Phoenicia. Excavations there uncovered imported goods, from Cypriot pottery to Egyptian scarabs, testifying to their role as middlemen in international commerce. They also became skilled agriculturalists, producing olive oil and wine on a scale that impressed their neighbors. At Ekron, archaeologists uncovered one of the largest olive oil production facilities of the ancient world, with over 100 presses. As historian Israel Finkelstein observes, the Philistine economy was not only about raiding or war. It was a sophisticated system of agriculture, trade, and craft that made them one of the most dynamic societies of the Iron Age Levant. Religion was another cornerstone of their identity. The Philistines worshipped a pantheon of deities, blending Aegean traditions with local Canaanite practices. The god Dagon appears in the Bible as a major figure, and temples dedicated to him have been discovered at Ashdod and Gaza. But other deities were also venerated, including goddesses of fertility and storm gods associated with the sea. Ritual objects and temple architecture reveal a religious culture distinct yet deeply interconnected with the broader Near East. Their festivals, sacrifices, and rituals reinforced their communal bonds and distinguished them from their Israelite and Canaanite neighbors. For 2 centuries, the Philistines thrived. They dominated the coastal plains, rivaled Israelite tribes inland, and maintained their confederation despite internal rivalries. But no people of the ancient Near East could escape the expansion of great empires. The Assyrians began pressing westward in the 8th century BC. Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, and Sennacherib all campaigned in Philistia, demanding tribute and punishing rebellion. Some Philistine cities submitted, others resisted. Ashkelon was destroyed, while Ekron briefly prospered as a loyal Assyrian vassal. The balance of autonomy that had long defined the Pentapolis began to crumble under imperial domination. Before we continue uncovering the fate of the Philistines, take a moment to join us here on Vertex of Time. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the lost civilizations, forgotten empires, and untold stories of the ancient world. Every subscription helps us bring you more content like this, and together, we can keep history alive. The final blow came from Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar II waged campaigns against the Levant in the early 6th century BC, devastating Ashkelon and deporting much of its population. Ekron fell soon after. By the time Persia rose under Cyrus the Great, the Philistines had ceased to exist as a distinct people. They were assimilated into the larger cultural mosaic of the empire, their identity dissolved, their confederation erased. And yet, their memory endured. Centuries later, when the Romans crushed the Jewish revolt in the 2nd century AD, Emperor Hadrian renamed the land Palestina, deliberately invoking the Philistines. The people themselves had vanished, but their name became immortal. As Trude Dothan poignantly wrote, the Philistines disappeared as a people, but their shadow has remained with us through history, reshaped by memory and myth. The story of the Philistines, therefore, is not simply one of antagonism with Israel. It is the tale of a migrant people who forged a confederation, mastered warfare, thrived in trade, and built a distinct culture only to be swallowed by empires larger than themselves. Their disappearance was not sudden, but gradual, the result of conquest, assimilation, and the passage of time. Today, we reconstruct their world from shards of pottery, ruined temples, and the hostile accounts of their enemies. And in doing so, we discover a people far more complex than the caricature of uncultured Philistines. They were innovators, warriors, and survivors, a league of cities that left a lasting mark on the history of the ancient world.